Greetings, it is I, Tentis Naravan Dracovin, Lord and Emperor of the Dracovin Empire, and welcome. It is time to continue my discussion on Vampire the Masquerade in the World of Darkness. So I've been talking about the various characters and NPCs that are out in the World of Darkness, and I started with the earliest generations. We've been talking about this second generation. So today for you I have Irad, the second true vampire in the second generation to be embraced, beyond those of legend. Now, Irad is said to have lived, of course, very similar to Enoch, the first of those embraced. Of course, sired by Caine. He is a second generation. And the reason that Irad was sired was because of Enoch. Enoch convinced Caine to become a vampire, to let him become the embraced. But Enoch wanted siblings, effectively, other vampires to be embraced with him, and convinced Caine to embrace two more. Irad was the second one, or as he's known, Irad the Strong. Important here to note is that there is some trivia to say that Irad was in fact Enoch's biological son. The book of Genesis mentions some things which hints at this fact. So yes, it might not be true, but it might be that Enoch convinced Caine to basically embrace his son too. Now, regardless though, the Strong, as he was known, it became the Fist of Caine, his arm. Those that would be sired by Irad would have strength in leadership and dominance, not just physical ones. They specialized in the disciplines of dominance, protein, potence, and fortitude. Because these disciplines are common between the Ventru, Bruja, Cappadocians, and Lasombra. It is thought that those four clans descend from Irad. Each of these has their own aptitudes towards leadership and that dominance that puts them in a position under Irad. At least they're thought to be. His lineage is known as the philosopher-kingship lineage. Now, this isn't to say that Irad might not have created or embraced others. Again, because this time period is fought with a lot of legends, the true origins of a lot of antediluvians is up for questions, and a lot of clans. Two possible childer come from two different stories, which, again, take these with a grain of salt. This first one is a little weird. It says that Irad, as the strong and powerful, sought to remove the evil deep within him, to kind of purge himself of that. And so, being a master of protein, basically was able to manipulate all the evil in his body and kind of create this kind of lump, almost cancerous tumor of evil, and then just spit it out of his body, remove it from himself. And this horrible cancerous growth became the Semiche Antediluvian. Look, this one is very obviously a little insulting towards the Semiche, but it's hard to say sometimes with their attitudes whether they would kind of push forward in this one. But regardless, this is an interesting story for the Semiche's origins. Now, another one comes from the Ravenous. Ravenous have their own various stories which have conflicting origins for where they came from. Some say that Ravenous himself was a child of Irad. So others say that Ravenous was a second generation, a child of Caine directly. There's also stories that involve the Gangrel Antediluvian, Enoch, who there's stories that say Enoch is the sister of Ravenous. Now, granted, because of the time period and because of what we know about, this could mean they were both child of Irad. That would be part of the story. Other ways, it could be the fact that these two might be biologically siblings, and then they just both become antediluvians and vampires. It's a confusing time. And again, these are less verified stories. The known antediluvians, there's still always questions about where they come from, and then the stories add mystery and sanity to all this. But that's it for today. I only had to talk a little bit about Irad, who is the second of the three second generation that Caine produced. The 3 that are true second generation. All the others, there's mystery and myth around, which we've talked about one set, or at least we'll talk about all the other ones. There are so many possibilities for these early vampires and so many stories, it's hard to capture all of them and hard to let you know about all of them. I'm sure some of you, as some of you pointed out on Enoch's video, there are other stories out there. It's possible, so many different routes with so many things here. It's not until we're going to get to the 3rd generation, especially the 4th generation, we're going to get away from a lot of the myth of these vampires. Because 4th generations can still be encountered in the modern day. Very rarely, but you can still run into one of them and have a chat. They can say, this is what my sire was like. Now, their sire's sire probably never met them. Because the antediluvians killed the 2nd generation. Or at least that's what's said in the Book of Nod. So, we'll continue through these stories. And it will be up to you how you're going to interpret them for your game. Which truth are you going to use? And how you're going to use it. But I hope you're having a great day. If you have any kind of ideas about who is under who are the true child of Irad, let me know if you have any interesting ideas about this. I love to hear all these different things. And again, I can only collect so many of these different theories. There's plenty out there. So if you know of some more storylines of Child of Irad or other connections between these vampires, let me know also. I love to hear about more of those. So many are out there for these mythological vampires, and I love to hear them. Anyway, until the next time, I bid you farewell.